Buyer beware. The best transfer portal quarterbacks are those that find the best fit, not the best price.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Portal Podcast, where you find your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the NFL action all season long, head over to FanDuel and place your live NFL bets all the way through the Super Bowl. We're going to be discussing top transfer portal quarterbacks like Brendan Sorsby, Sam Leavitt, to give an idea of how fit really matters at programs wherever they may go, and how you can use that as a barometer for the quarterback that your school gets. Maybe it is Leavitt, maybe it is Sorsby. That's a little later on in the show. We're also going to be talking about just sensible decisions. If your roster is not in the position to win a title in 2026, be realistic, be honest, take the fan hat off. If it is not, should that be a sign that maybe you shouldn't be in the Sam Leavitt sweepstakes? Maybe not Sorsby, maybe several other guys? You got to think about that. Taking a quarterback is still possible in the portal, but maybe you should go for a guy with more eligibility and more upside long term. But to start the show, just as I opened, here's the key, and this is my take. If they're looking for the price tag above fit, buyer beware. Fit is more important. If you're looking for development, the right scheme, those are the quarterbacks that will inevitably help a program like Miami. Maybe it's Tennessee. Maybe it's LSU. Maybe it's Auburn, etc. We have a lot of different players that kind of go into this transfer portal market thinking, man, I'm going to get rich. And there's a good chance that you could. But you still need to go someplace where you're going to fit in and you're not going to be miserable and your team's not going to lose games. This is something that I've had a conversation with a lot of fans, whether it's at a restaurant, somebody pulls me to the side, hey, you're the guy from the Portal Podcast, or you're on Locked On and fill in the blank. If I see you on Locked On Canes, Locked On Auburn, whatever it is. We have conversations just like everybody else. And I always tell people the same thing. Coaches are the reason that a player should pick a school. They want development and all that. But once they get a taste of success and that money in their wallet, and some of the people around them get in their ear, third uncle, a bad influence in terms of an agent, sometimes they leave a school they shouldn't prematurely, or they're just too stubborn. They want to guarantee they're going to start. They hit the portal looking for cash. Well, how much film do you have? Are you going for a bigger price tag, but you haven't played yet? What are the realistic options? This is something that, unfortunately, is why many of the really good players, not just a quarterback, but any position that I'll see during the Under Armour circuit, 7-on-7 and other places, end up in the portal and don't find a home. Have realistic expectations on their end. And then again, it's the fit, not the price tag, that makes a team want you and, quite honestly, should want you. So who are some of the guys that I think, based on my experience with them, that will go into that market and do well? One that I know very well, to start with this is easy. I don't even need my notes for this because he lived right up the road from me when I was in Florida. That's Rocco Becht. He was at Iowa State the last several years, and he's a great guy. He can throw it all over the lot. He's gotten even better as a runner. He's a strong young man, good person off the field, down to earth. But sure, he wants to be compensated. Rocco Becht represents the middle of the road for all things. Not going to have to worry about him off the field. He's not some idiot. He's not going to cause problems in your locker room. Parents, sister, everybody, all good. So you won't have any issues from an image standpoint, and you're probably not going to have too much of an issue in the negotiations. That's at least my strong sense. Rocco's always been nice. Texted him the other day, wishing him well, and he just said thank you. Like, he's a very simple young man. That's what you're looking for with a college football program. Now, most of these guys I don't know from Adam, because they're from all over the country. I literally lived right down the road from Rocco. I used to go see him at high school practices, games, etc. And he's a really talented kid. But a lot of these other guys are too, but I don't know them off the field. And that's what a lot of this transfer portal background work is about. Anybody can watch film. You can at least correlate, hey, this offense is different than ours. But at the same time, we have the ability to see some of the tendencies they use. And I know that coach over there, that stuff is very easy because coaches know each other. It's a small world. There's just about, like in the SEC, there's somebody in every office that knows a coach or personnel member in another SEC office. You're going to be able to get intel. And you can apply that across all the P4 and to some degree G6 as well. So I don't think that's an issue. But let's talk about Brendan Sorsby. Don't know him. Started Indiana, goes to Cincinnati, does really well this past season. And I was personally happily surprised. I think it was over 600 yards Sorsby had rushing. And he could throw it all over the place. Like he's always been a guy that can get the ball into the right places. But now that he's got the legs and it's been proven over and over again, and he helped elevate the Cincinnati football program, his stock is as high as it's going to get. But where would he fit? This is, in my opinion, the easiest one overall in terms of production, size of the player. He's like 230 something. Along with Rocco, like these are guys that I put in the top 5 because I don't worry about them in terms of scheme. If you want either one of them to be in just a traditional passing offense, kind of 1995 Denver Broncos or something, that they could do it, but they can run as well. Those two low-hanging fruit. Don't know Sam Leavitt, but same kind of deal. If you want to put him in an offense that's going to run a little bit more with the quarterback, he started doing that more with ASU this past year, albeit he did get banged up. He played, I believe, in 7 games. He's another one. No problem. Those 3, very confident in. The one that I think has all kinds of talent that I would probably pass on because he just can't get healthy if I need that immediate impact. This is not a name anybody's going to be surprised by, is DJ Lagway. Good kid, been around him, but he just hasn't been healthy for 2 years. I think it would be best if he sat out next year, had the shoulder surgery, went that route. I have no idea what DJ's situation is. I'm guessing he needs to have a shoulder surgery based on the intel I've gotten, but I'm not a doctor and I'm not his doctor. That being said, great person off the field. I don't expect any of those 4 to be like drama queens when it comes to the NIL money. That's the good news. However, out of this list that I have in front of me on my piece of paper, there are probably 2 or 3 that are like, yeah, I need more than this, or I want more than that. We'll find out which ones they are on the back end. But again, just keep asking yourself, no matter what team you root for or against, do you think that quarterback is looking to transfer for fit and playing time, or is he after the bag? Because if it's the latter, I don't care if he has the talent that Sam Leavitt has, Brendan Sorsby, Rocco Becht, or anybody else. Chances of even coming close to maximizing the talent and that next team's win total are near 0. Here's one more that I'll give you based on intel that I have, and I don't know the kid, but he played in Tampa. Byrum Brown. He's in the portal now. He was the quarterback at USF. I believe he's from North Carolina originally. I don't know him at all, but he's a power runner. He's one of like 10 to 15 guys in the history of college football to throw for 3,000 in a season and run for 1,000. That's an incredible number. I don't care that he was a G6 guy. He looked the part against Florida's defense, and while Florida sucked as a team this year, their defense was pretty good most of the season. He made clutch plays when he had to help USF, who doesn't have the same talent as UF, win in the swamp. That was a good sign for me. Big-time throws, big-time runs, and most importantly, between the years, big-time decisions. I would also lump him in there with that safe category. For what I've heard about him, for people I know, that's not going to be a problem. Wherever he ends up, many are speculating Auburn, he should be a plug-and-play, not only on the gridiron, but off. That's very important. Face of the program. Got to have that. Here are just some other guys that I'm really curious about, and we'll kind of get into the list. I'll do my predictions on where they're going to go here in a few minutes, but here are a few more guys before I go to the break that I really want to talk about. Kenny Minchey, leaving Notre Dame. I know him a little bit. I want to talk about him after the break. Bo Pribula. There's rumor he might be going back to Penn State. I heard that a little bit ago. That's pretty interesting. Aaron Philo. I need to go back and watch some of his film from high school. I was told that he just killed it at the school he went to a smaller institution in Georgia. I'd love to see what he can do. Colton Joseph, quarterback out of Old Dominion. I've talked about him many times. Really good. Josh Hoover. I have a very specific school that I'm just flat out, I'm going to say it, probably make some people mad. There's a school I want him to go to, and it's not even a school I root for. but I think he's such a good fit. That's where I hope he goes. We're going to be talking about those guys, and I got a few more. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as the guys heat up. You can bet on the next touchdown score, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. To that end, I'm curious to see what some of the teams that are on that fringe of making the playoffs are going to do with just the basic money lines and everything else, like Kansas City with their injuries. That's going to be fascinating. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action all along this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We truly appreciate you stopping in each and every day. And if you want to take your game to the next level, join the Everydayer Club. Just check out the description below this show. There's a link in there. It'll give you some more information on the following. Everydayer Club means if you're audio, if you're a guy that doesn't want to listen to the ads, that's cool. All you got to do is $5 a month or $50 a year. You get rid of that right there. There's a Discord and more. You have opportunities to mix it up with fans, myself, and other people. It's a lot of fun. Check out the Everydayer Club here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now let's do some predictions and just have fun, and then I'll jump into the chat a little bit. I've got a list of guys, and remember, next week, we're a week away. The portal will be open officially. So between now and the time the playoff games happen and a few days after, it's hard to say how many more quarterbacks will be in. But we got a few things to hit, and I'm going to start with it. This is the big elephant in the room. I just want to get it out of the way. With Lane Kiffin going to LSU, there's the whole discussion with Trinidad Chambliss. I purposefully left that out of the first segment because I don't want it to drag everything into one hole. But that is the above all else situation. And Lord only knows we're all at a disadvantage, especially LSU and Ole Miss, because the NCAA has to decide if Trinidad Chambliss gets an injury red shirt. I have no idea if they will. It's something to do with Ferris State. I've heard Matt Moscona from Locked On LSU talk about it. I listened to his pod a couple of days ago. Did a tremendous, check out Locked On LSU. They do a great job over there, getting him information, all the people that he speaks with. He's very, very well informed. To that end, Ferris State has to sign off on that he was injured, this, that, and the other. Something to do with tonsillitis or something, like he was sick. But he played in a couple of games. Does he get the injury red shirt? I have no idea how that works. But it's not just whether he gets it, it's when. I've got on my sheet the one word that's very important just about everything: timing. If the timing's not right, is it going to work for you? No, it's not. How long will Lane Kiffin and LSU wait? They can't tell another kid yes, sign some NIL deal, and then cut bait. I'm sure Sam Leavitt would have interest. It's LSU. I get it. I'm sure Sorsby and other guys would too. But Trinidad Chambliss is plug and play. He already knows the offense. If you're Lane, that's the easy, low-hanging fruit. And if that information doesn't come at a timely fashion, does Austin Simmons, to back up another guy that obviously knows Lane's offense, who could transfer to LSU, is he already dead set on staying with Ole Miss? Maybe he's just like, I can't wait. I'm just going to take the deal right here. I'm happy. I'll finish out my college career where I started. What happens with LSU and the timing of it impacts everything I'm about to say. And I fully expect this to go sideways in some way, shape, or form for at least one or two schools, because does anybody really trust the NCAA with their timing? I don't. I doubt you do either, nor should you. The NCAA has failed for a long time on being timely. Why would today be any different? To that end, here we go with a few things that we can get into in terms of names and in terms of what will happen. If Trinidad gets his waiver, I'm going to pick him to go to LSU. And if he doesn't, obviously his career's over. The question then would be Austin Simmons. And I know Austin. He's a great guy. I have no idea where he's going. I think he'll just weigh his options based on how the playoff comes about, like who's going to be hired on, how he feels about the new coaches at Ole Miss. Like there are a lot of things that he would have to go into. So I'm not going to touch what's going to happen with Austin. But for the other guys, Aaron Philo, Georgia Tech, he's connected to Buster Faulkner, who went to UF. I'm picking him to go to UF. If he ends up being that guy that starts, I wouldn't be shocked. If he's the backup, I wouldn't be shocked. Players pick coaches. Say it all the time. Today is no different. But he may not be the only quarterback. They need at least two. I could see him taking three, to be honest. It wouldn't shock me. To that end, might as well just jump into it. Colton Joseph, the guy from Old Dominion, there's several schools that have been involved. Florida State, Wisconsin are just three off the top of my head. He had 1,007 yards rushing this year, roughly a 60% passer at Old Dominion. He's got the arm. He's got the size. He's 6'2", 205. He could do those things that you need, but he is a very gifted athlete. A team like what Georgia Tech was this year, Florida State, totally understand what they're doing. Wisconsin's trending that way a little bit too, where they run the quarterback. So they would all make sense with Colton Joseph. But again, back to Florida, that's a pretty desirable job for a quarterback. I'm going to go with Florida State. He's going to want to play in the South, play somewhere where it's big-time football. Wisconsin, I don't think he'll pick there. You never know. But I'm going to go with him in and up at Florida State. It seems like Florida State's the one's trending. But if the Gators offer enough money, that'd be pretty hard to pass up the SEC opportunity. Here's one that somebody may not be thinking about, and it's kind of went under the radar. Bryce Baker. He's only been at UNC 1 year. He's hitting the portal. Super talented guy. Saw him a couple of times at Elite 11s. He's out of the state of North Carolina. It won't be long before somebody picks him up. He's really good. He just doesn't have any film. Luke Kromenhoek went to Florida State, then Mississippi State. Another guy, Elite 11 guy, went to the finals. Really talented player. Just hasn't had a chance to play. Where does he end up? If one of those two ended up at Indiana, for instance, like I think both would fit their scheme, they would do well long term. But how many of these guys are willing to wait to play? That's the question. And they got to figure that out. But those guys are competitive, have been around, they're both great guys. I think they'll do well. Then the one I've talked about several times here on the show, Kenny Minchey. If you're looking for a quarterback that is A, got talent, B, got good personality, good guy off the field, but doesn't really have much film, I think the safest one in the entire list, and I am biased because I've been around him, is Kenny Minchey. He was 3 years at Notre Dame. That's a different kind of place. I wish him well wherever he goes. Maybe it's Tennessee. Maybe it's a school down south. I don't know. Maybe it's Indiana. I couldn't tell you. But he is an athletic enough guy that he can run an RPO-based offense. He can go get you 50 to 70 yards rushing a game. And if you want him to be the guy that just sits from the pocket and throws it, he can do that too. I saw somebody say he's more of a game manager. He's not a game manager. He has the arm to push the ball down the field, and he's very good on the chalkboard. I'm going to go with Kenny Minchey in and up down south. He's from the state of Tennessee, the greater Nashville area. Could be Tennessee. You never know. Maybe it's another school, but there are a lot of opportunities. I can see Virginia because he's academically inclined. They're losing their quarterback there. A lot of different opportunities for him. Trey Owens, this is one that I really don't know. Excuse me. Texas. More of a pocket guy from what I know. I don't know him very much. I have no idea where he's going to go, but I'm curious because Sark is pretty good eye for quarterbacks. That's one that I'm curious if he ends up staying more local. Does he care? Does he just have to play right away? Does he drop down to G6? After being at Texas, there's not many schools on that level in terms of prestige. That'll be intriguing. As far as the big guys on the list and where I think they're going, this is just, I'm shooting my shot. These won't shock a lot of people. Rocco Becht, Penn State. I'm going to go, and for those that know, I didn't even ask Rocco when I texted with him. I have no idea where he's going. I'm just projecting. Byrum Brown, Auburn. There's a lot of smoke around that. He's at USF. His head coach, Alex Golish, goes from USF to Auburn. If he doesn't go there, so be it. But they've cleared out a lot of cap room. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to hit the ground running at quarterback. And Byrum, that's a heck of a player. Now for the one that I promised before, this is what I'm just openly rooting for. Full disclosure. And I'm just biased because I think it would be fun to watch. I am not a Tennessee fan, but I'm honest here. I would love to see Josh Hoover in that offense because he's mobile enough to extend plays. He's not really a runner that would fit, per se, what Tennessee wants to do in terms of just having the quarterback run all the time. But he'd get you 15, 20 yards a game. And with better receivers, better offensive linemen, I think he could throw for 3,500 yards next year, no doubt. Tennessee will, if they get Hoover, do you think they would struggle to get wide receivers? Probably not. I think that would be a really good fit. And Hoover, he's tore it up the last couple of years at TCU. But if it's not there, the other one, just going to throw it out. And I'm going to come back to this in a second. Miami. And to that end, I'm picking Sam Leavitt to end up with the Canes. They spend a ton of money. They're successful. He's lived in a warm climate the last couple of years. Miami's not a dry heat, I can assure you, from living in Florida, but it will at least be similar. So we'll see. Baylor's trending for DJ Lagway. That's where his dad played. So I'm just going to go there. The two that are really interesting, though, obviously the LSU Ole Miss situation. I don't know which guy it's going to be for Ole Miss or LSU. That'll kind of take care of itself, but that could screw the rest of this up. I fully understand that. But lastly, there's going to be somebody else that gets in the portal that we won't know, but like Mestamaker is expected to go Oak State, etc. Who is the person that gets in the portal that's a quarterback that you're like, oh, I did not see that coming? That's still yet to happen. Somebody's going to do it. I don't know why, whether it's they're being induced, whatever. But again, these aren't easy decisions. I get it. But are you getting in for the right reason? I've said this several times during the show. Are you going for development and fit, or are you chasing the bag? So when a guy gets in late, especially, I'm curious about it. What made you decide after all of this going on that you should get in the portal? There's going to be somebody that does it. Comment down below if you think there's somebody that will or should, or if you've got a comment now in the chat, like if you think somebody should go to a school, why it is. I'm curious to see what you have. Let's see what we got in the comment section today. Katie, what's going on, Katie? One of the keys to Georgia's quarterback success is developing their own high school recruits. 100%. This is something that if you look at the top tier of college football, Katie struck on something here across the board. I know that wasn't her aim, but it's not just quarterback. Not just quarterback for the Dogs, not for Ohio State, not for Notre Dame, not for a lot of schools right there at that top echelon. Bama used to be this way, not quite as much with the change, but you take portal guys to supplement. Clemson, etc., Penn State before their coaching change. Most of these schools were starting 15 to 18 guys from the high school ranks out of their all 22 offensive and defensive starters. Next year, Notre Dame will push 20 starters from the high school ranks. Georgia will probably be pretty close to that as well. So that's key. Continuity, players believing in what you do, and players believing in who they are within that system. Again, fit, culture, all that takes care of itself. The money will come if you do that. So, you know what? Let me pull out of the chat just for 1 second, get one more break in. We'll come back in. But think about this for a second. Is there a quarterback for whatever school that you root for that you think culturally or scheme they would fit you and your program? Let's talk about that next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the college football season and the playoffs, tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of everything going on. The energy, the bands, all the moments that you love and you will remember forever. But actually getting the tickets, that's the part that can be the most frustrating for you because of all the long queues, the logins, and all the prices jumping out at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to you, the fan. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I recently bought not one, but 2 different sets of tickets. Once I went with my dad and once by myself to a game when I was driving back home from my family Christmas trip. Each time, in and out in 5 minutes. That includes finding the game, finding the seat, seeing my seat view right there on my phone, putting in my credit card information, and being done. And here's the part that most people want to know. The price you see at the beginning is the price you see at the end. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, let's get back into the chat and have a little fun here. This has been a really good show so far with some of the questions and comments. Let's see. Brown is a Miami target. That's what Katie says. If that's the case, that could really make it interesting. For those that don't know or don't follow Auburn or how all this works, I've talked about this as well. Did a show on it this week. Auburn has, quote unquote, backed off, for lack of a better term, on some of their higher priced guys, like this is what we want to pay. And some guys walked. I think personally, because they want to get prices back down for the long term, because they're not going to overpay, and Auburn overpaid for a while. Secondarily, you're changing schemes to a certain degree, so maybe that was part of it. For some of the players, who knows? That's Auburn's business. But if Miami's involved with Byrum Brown, I can assure you that is not good for Auburn in terms of what they got to pay, because Auburn's pockets are deep, Miami's are deeper. So that will be very, very intriguing. We'll see where that ends up going, but I'm very, very curious. Let's see here. Kim English 1082. Coach Sig proved this true. Do you fit in our program? One bad apple in the locker room can destroy a team. That is 100%. I cover Locked On Seminoles, or on Seminoles. I cover Florida State, like the 2023 team to 24. They did the same process, but they picked the wrong guys. They got the bad apples in the ladder. 2024, somebody in that locker room went sideways from what I heard. Things didn't go well, and they didn't have as much talent on top of it. You put those two together, that's like two pins being pulled out of two grenades. Doesn't go well. Just doesn't. So you've got to make sure that fit is right. Just because you see a quarterback's film and he's dynamite, man, he'd fit our system. Does he fit your locker room? Be careful what you're asking for, and buyer beware. If that guy's just coming in asking, you got to match this price, even if you thought he was a good dude, maybe it's somebody around him. Maybe it's the mom, maybe it's the agent, maybe it's the third uncle, the infamous third uncle. That's also important. So all those things together, it's all about fit. Katie, that's why Kirby Smart told Carson Becht not to let the door hit him when he decided to leave. Social media diva first and football player second. There's a lot of rumors about Carson Becht not being missed at Georgia. He had a pretty good season at Miami, but there is a lot of stories out of Athens, Georgia there. Let's see. All right. Kenny is going to be ridiculous on his next team. Kenny, CJ, and Angeli will lead the nation in quarterback efficiency in 2026. It's amazing that Angeli was on Notre Dame's roster, CJ was, and Kenny was all at the same time. You only play one quarterback at a time, though. It's just the way it is. So, Bernie, I agree. That is really intriguing. Hopefully, Angeli gets healthy too. He had that Achilles injury. That's tough to overcome. KPOW 12951. Rumor is that Leavitt injury is scaring some teams since he's out for the spring. Could be why he isn't announced. Why he's okay. There's truth in that. I don't know the full situation. There's two different things I know about his injury, though, from a general perspective. Those that don't know, he has a Liz Frank injury. It's some kind of fracture in the foot. You can either get the surgery, takes a little longer, but it's the surer thing, or you can let it ride and it usually breaks again. I have no idea if he got the surgery, if he's letting it ride, whatever. I don't know how bad the break was. None of that. To that end, everybody's got to poke and prod and ask for all the files. How that works, not a clue. Because he's got to sign off on sending it, the doctors and all that. That's a risk. Nobody wants to hear their prized possessions not going through spring ball. It's not. Every quarterback coach in America wants them full go for spring, but he's as talented as it gets. It's a guess. There is no buyer's remorse, and then we go back into portal after spring because, as I say almost every day right here on the Locked On Portal podcast, there's only one portal window. The spring window is gone. January 2nd through the January 16th window to enter. You don't have to finish where you're going, but that's the only portal window. So after spring, quarterback got hurt, our offensive line stinks, we need a couple, whatever. Nope. You are stuck with what you got. Who's going to go after Leavitt? I think personally that it'll take care of itself. I think he'll still have plenty of opportunities. I'm picking Miami because that's an easy one. But at the same time, if he ended up somewhere else, would it surprise me? No, this is the portal era. Anything can and will happen. Chris the Bammer, I would like to see Ty Simpson return in 26. What say you? I can't imagine Ty jump like he's been banged up. From my experience with the NFL Combine, and I grew up in Indiana, so I followed it because it's in Indianapolis. If he had any form of back injury, he's going to be told to come back. That's just my opinion. The question for Bama is not would you like to have Simpson come back? It's whether you can do the following things in conjunction. Can you keep your other quarterbacks on the roster with Ty coming back? And the answer is almost guaranteed no. This is a really awkward spot for the Bama staff. It's not their fault. They want the 5-star kid, I forget his name, that's out of Duncanville. He's a great player. Loved his high school film. Didn't have a chance to meet him, but he's talented. The quarterback coach that's going up to Michigan State, the kid they brought with them from Washington, he's rumored to be going to state. I don't know if that's true. If it is what it is. But they don't want to lose the kid from Texas. So I ask you, Mr. Chris the Bammer, are they going to lose the 5-star if he's not the quarterback next year? Again, I don't know him. I'm sure they're compensating him well. That system would fit him. All that. That is really touchy. How do you push a guy out that was at one point the front runner for the Heisman Trophy and waited his turn? That is an awkward spot to be in. I would not want to be DeBoer in that group. That's unfortunate, but as they say, like, what are you going to do? I mean, there are guys that sometimes it happens. Let's see, Katie. I got my Brown info from a friend doing work study in the Miami AD, and she was really good ears. That's funny. NSPR 8586. What do you think the succession plan is at Indiana? They have the younger Mendoza. He's a sophomore. But who else is currently in the room? And who might Sig be looking to add? I don't know their room. I didn't study it because once Mendoza was good right off the bat, I didn't pay attention to it. The younger Mendoza has really not played. And they're good enough that I don't think they're going to hand the reins to somebody that's unproven. They allegedly made an offer to the Mestamaker kid that was at North Texas. He'll probably end up at Oklahoma State of like $3.5 million, but his coach went from North Texas to Oak State for those who don't remember. But I don't know who else. I'm sure Leavitt's a possibility, and I'm sure some other guys too. I could see a couple other guys. I mean, Rocco Becht would fit there. Josh Hoover would fit there. Aaron Philo from Georgia Tech would fit there. An intriguing one, although I don't think they'll take this route. DJ Lagway, like I think he'll end up at Baylor. He would fit there. That coaching staff's really good. Trey Owens, the guy from Texas, he might fit there. There are a lot of different players. I don't know because they got to make the decision on two things at once. Are we going all in on just one big-time guy, then we're going to use Mendoza? Or do you take two guys, risk losing Mendoza, and one of them has got multiple years of eligibility, but he knows he's not the guy next year? A lot of schools are going to go through that. I don't know what Sig and them want to do because I'm not in the practices to watch the younger Mendoza. I have no idea. How far is he from starting at an elite level? Not start, but be like a playoff contender. We don't know. Only the Indiana coaches know that. Bernie, what do you think about these Australian punters Notre Dame keeps recruiting? These guys look like they could play safety, linebacker, defensive end. Punter seems like a waste of talent. It's wild. There's some bigger guys. There's a bunch of guys like that have come over. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why, but it is intriguing. There's so many guys that are Australian punters in college football now. Almost every guy that I expect when I'm watching a game and they say, well, this guy's from, like half of them are from Australia. I'm talking about SEC, Big Ten, Notre Dame, etc. It's the thing. So whatever they're doing over there, whatever they're teaching, it's working. So if you're Notre Dame or anybody else getting one of these kids, thumbs up. What do we got? Steve, if Utah coach goes to Michigan, mass turnover and quarterback will leave. To me, what are your thoughts? Oof. I'm not sure what Bryce Underwood would do. I kind of forgotten about that, but like Michigan's in a terrible spot. Like they put themselves in it, they screwed up, but part of it's just bad timing on top of that. If they lose Bryce Underwood, man, that program's blown up. but your coach has got to come before anything else. With the way the roster is right now, I know this won't make Michigan fans happy, especially those that live in the state of Michigan, because Bryce is a Detroit area guy. Losing him might be the best thing because you're not winning it next year, the year after probably anyway. That roster is about to get gutted. That would be my guess, because players pick coaches, not schools. New coach comes in, especially like it's Whittingham. That's a guy from out west. They don't know him. You're going to see 15 guys get in the portal, probably half of them starters. It's going to take a couple of years to recover from that. But he's a heck of a coach, and he would be as good a stopgap guy as there is. And there's some others that could do that too. I mean, they could bring in Saban as a back office guy, at least meet with him every week. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. But if Underwood hits the portal, it will not surprise me. Because whoever they hire, it's not going to be somebody he's got a long-standing relationship with outside of just like a handful that recruited it. I would not be surprised at all if he did. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Keelan Russell. Thank you. Yeah, Keelan Russell is the 5-star freshman at Bama. He's tremendously talented. Really, really good player. Bernie, what are expectations for Aeneas Williams? Heisman, no. He may start at Notre Dame next year. He may not. He'll have to win the job, but he's a heck of a back. Loved him out of high school. Notre Dame's loaded at running back. They won't have any problems. Their running back room will be loaded again next year. Katie, would Whittingham unretire to go to the dysfunctional Michigan? I don't think he's retired per se. I think he's done coaching at Utah. He's been there his whole life. When I used to talk to Urban Meyer over 20 years ago at Utah, he said, my DC is really good. He's next up. I didn't know anything about him. Boy, was Urban right. Like he told me that one time on the phone, and I was like, well, who's Kyle Whittingham? Why should I care? He's like, this guy can coach. I had no idea it was going to be this level, though. I'm not sure Urban even knew. But yeah, Kyle Whittingham is really good. Would he take it? It depends on circumstance. Who he's allowed to bring with him. Are they going to try to force coaches on him? Man, that stuff's complex. I'm not going to sit here and say I know the answer to that. That's super hard. There are a lot of different reasons that you would want the Michigan job. It's a top 15 job by any metric, really. Probably top 10, 12. I know some Michigan fans think it's a top 5 job. It is not. It's in the North. That state's just okay for recruiting, but it's still really good. And you got resources. You got NIL. If you only had to go there for a couple of years and you could be the reason you turned around Michigan, that'd be pretty cool. I don't care if you're a Michigan fan, hate them, or anywhere in between. That would be really cool, especially if you could convince Bryce to stay. And again, I have no idea what his plans are, but he's not going to know that next coach. That gives me pause. Bernie, if you were a head coach, who would your top 3 quarterback prospects in the portal be? Well, it depends on my scheme and my roster. Again, the safe guys are pretty easy. Sorsby, Leavitt, that Rocco, guys that I've either been around, other people have been around, Byrum Brown, they're proven. They can all move to a certain degree. Hoover to a certain level as well. He's not as mobile. The film doesn't lie. But based on the mannerisms of those guys, and go watch their interviews at press conferences, how do they interact with media? It's so important. Coaches want people that positively project to the media, and it's why quarterback is rated completely different than any other spot. All right. You can be a snorting, grunting guy if you're playing D tackle. You cannot be that way at quarterback. Sorsby to me is number 1 overall because of his size. He's a runner. He's a guy that worked up the ladder. He wasn't like an elite quarterback out of high school, but figured it out. Leavitt be right there with him. You can rank either one, but I think Sorsby's healthy. So I'd go with him. Byrum Brown for the right system. You could rank Brown 1. I wouldn't dislike it. But he's been a G6 guy. How would he handle the ground? I don't know. There are a lot of guys that are at the top. This is a pretty darn good quarterback group. You know, Pribula, that's another guy like Bo Pribula, I guess you should say. Penn State, Missouri, played a little bit, but he's been banged up. He's in the portal. Heard he's a pretty good guy. He might be back at Penn State. There are so many guys that have upside that we've heard good things about off the field. I would just say that my group would start with about 5 different players. And then as I did research, the only ones I would consider, regardless of what level I was at NIL-wise, depending on the program I'm at, if they don't fit this parameter off the field, they're out. Again, I cover Florida State. I've seen what bad decisions from the portal can do to a locker room. I would not suffer that after seeing that directly as somebody in the media. I can only imagine what that train wreck was like for Norvell and his staff. So wasn't as bad this past season, but the point is still the same. The portal, when you bring in the wrong guy and you spend too much, that's why I keep saying if they're chasing the bag, it's not going to work because everybody follows what the quarterbacks are making. That is a big, big problem. Steve Klein, does Notre Dame coach end up in the NFL this year? No. I actually talked to somebody about that today. His agent will get him more money, but like, why would you take the Giants job? That is a disaster, and it has been for a while. The NFL, you're not a puppet, but by and large, you're completely dictated by the quarterback you have. Do you trust the Giants quarterback situation? Or would you rather have CJ Carr for at least one more year? And then they got young guys coming up that were super highly recruited. I mean, I could be wrong, but based on what I've been told and just using logic, both point to him coming back for at least one more year. I'll be shocked if Marcus Freeman is not in South Bend. That's just my take. With that, I'm going to close it up. Thank you very much for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day. Once again, take us wherever you go. You can download us on audio, Spotify, Podbean, Apple, whatever platform. And if you want to be a part of it, the Everydayer Club, we've got it for you, $5 a month or $50 a year. You can take your audio, again, anywhere you want, but without ads. Plus, there's a Discord. Check out the description below. It's got a link in it that explains more. Check out the Everydayer Club. We thank you very much. We will see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.